What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. I'm sitting here today at 3:24 in the morning following Micah Parsons becoming a Green Bay Packer on Thursday. And what an unbelievable whirlwind of a day. For me personally, driving down to Chicago, immediately driving back, having 4 hours to think in the car, and then come and do the live Q&A. I had the ability to kind of think out everything that I wanted to think out in that car ride back, and then immediately come and do the live show and just have this almost like stream of consciousness moment where like everything just came out in the moment. It was an unbelievable day. It still has not hit me as I'm recording this that Micah Parsons is in fact a Green Bay Packer. On Friday, we're going to get Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, and Micah Parsons himself. I will be in the press conference room. Probably the most important day that I'll be in the press conference room since Aaron Rodgers came back after demanding the trade and aired all of his grievances. It's quite the different circumstance in this one. It's one of the more historic days in certainly the time that I've covered the team for sure. And certainly I've been alive. I mean, there's been Reggie White, there's been Charles Woodson, there's been trades, there's been firings, and there's been hirings, there's been cuts, there's been Super Bowls won, right? And I'm not saying that this is up there with winning a Super Bowl or anything like that, but it's definitely one of the more monumental days. 2 first-round picks in Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons. Usually after I do a full live show the night before, if there's breaking news or something, I come the next day and I record a new video. And some of the stuff is the same that I talked about. Other stuff is new or it's maybe more streamlined. The truth of the matter is, I got back yesterday and I talked for over 4 hours on Micah Parsons. I don't have anything else to say than everything that I covered in that almost 4.5 hour period of time. In that time, I went over my full thoughts on it for about an hour and a half, did about, 2.5 hours of Q&A, and then had Justis Mosqueda come on at the end. What I'm going to do today, for those of you who have not had the opportunity to check that out, the first thing I would recommend is go listen to the full thing. If you're waiting until Micah Parsons, comes on and does the press conferences and things like that, it's a great way to spend 4 hours having some background stuff and covering everything in totality. But in case you don't want to spend the full 4 hours kind of going through all of that, what I figured I would do for you guys is just take the part where I gave all my initial thoughts at the beginning, cut out the Q&A, add in the part with Justis, and kind of get you that for the remainder of today's show. So no brand new show today, other than this first 5 minutes or so. I want to thank all of you for hanging with me yesterday as I was traveling back from Chicago, making that abrupt U-turn and coming back to cover the entire trade. This is a special moment. Enjoy the moment. I'm going to regurgitate something that I said on the live show. I have no idea how this trade's going to work out. Nor do you, nor do the Packers, nor does Micah Parsons, nor do the Dallas Cowboys. This could go in a variety of different ways. This could be a situation where it is the piece that was missing and it legitimately gets them over the top. It could follow the same storyline as Reggie White and Charles Woodson and now Micah Parsons. And it's the piece that helps you again win a Super Bowl. It could be Damian Lillard 2.0. It could be this piece that looks so perfect on paper, but at the end of the day, just doesn't quite fit. Injuries and chemistry and some other stuff just play a part. And it doesn't quite work. Whatever ends up happening, all that Brian Gutekunst and the Packers can do at the time of a trade like this is have all of the information at their disposal and make the best, most educated decision that they can. No matter what happens down the line, I will not judge Brian Gutekunst poorly for this trade. This is a deal that you have to do 100 times out of 100 and make this deal because it could be the difference maker. It's an elite player, an elite talent in the prime of his career. It's actually not an exorbitant cost to give up. It might seem like it, but to what you're expecting to be late first round picks plus a almost 30-year-old aging defensive tackle, that is about the best case scenario that I possibly could have come up with. I think if I would have said ahead of time 2 first round picks and Kenny Clark, everyone would have said, yeah, that's not enough. You better start digging into it. You better be asked, throwing in a couple, third round picks and a young player, etc. Probably wouldn't have been enough, right? Yet somehow Brian Gutekunst was able to get that. And I get the contract is a huge piece of this as well. Highest paid defensive player in NFL history. The Packers were not shy with the checkbook. They were not shy with getting Dallas what they needed in order to complete this trade and make Micah Parsons a member of the Green Bay Packers. It's an unbelievable day. It's a unbelievably cool trade for one of the best players in all of football that will transform this defense and, in my opinion, this team from a fringe contender to a real, true, legitimate contender. Added expectations, added pressure, certainly. That's what you want. That means you have a team that's worth having those expectations for. And now we just get to see this all play out through the course of the season. We don't have to wait long. We are just over a week away from Packers-Lions. Packers become more favorites in this game after the Micah Parsons trade. They become favorites in the NFC North after the Micah Parsons trade. And now we have this beautiful journey of a season ahead of us. And again, whatever happens down the line, I would have done this deal every single time. No questions asked. In fact, you go into this deal knowing that 2 first-round picks are going to be what you need to get in the discussion in the first place. That there is no discussion. If you are not willing to give up 2 first-round picks, you don't even start the conversation with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. And everything after that, you're expecting to have to give additional draft capital or young, talented players that are cheap and under team control. And instead, they asked for an aging defensive tackle. That's not anything against Kenny. He's a really good player. He was going to really help this team this year. That's still a loss for here and now. But as a GM, putting your GM hat on, that's about as good of an outcome as you could possibly expect. And my guess is once they kind of vetted everything out, made sure they were good to go, Brian Gutekunst was probably pretty giddy making that phone call and finally acquiring Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. What number he wears, we do not know, at least as of recording this. But without further ado, here is the cut up of myself and my key takeaways from this deal, as well as my conversation with Justis Mosqueda from the 4-hour plus live show marathon. If you'd like, again, just go check out the live show instead. For those of you who have checked out the live show already, my apologies. A couple other things really quick. 11 a.m. this morning, 7.5 hours from now as I'm recording this, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A again, just an hour-long-ish Q&A prior to the press conferences, and then happy hour 5 p.m. on Friday. So if you're looking for something new and something fresh, again, 11 a.m., I'm going to be live, Micah Parsons Q&A, and then I'll go again at 5 p.m. for happy hour. I will see you guys then. Enjoy the rest of the show. My, again, thoughts and immediate thoughts and reactions and feedback. And again, a stream of consciousness of all things Micah Parsons, and then my conversation with Justis Mosqueda. So without further ado, here's my takes and the one and only Justis Mosqueda. Welcome in to this very special edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. My name is Andy Herman. It has been a hell of a day, and I am so overjoyed to be here chatting Green Bay Packers 268 immediately in the chat. And Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. Real goosebumps, real excitement, real joy. I said a while back, I will believe it when I see it. And if I'm wrong, and if he actually becomes a Packer, we will all celebrate together and we will all be amazed at Micah Parsons being a Green Bay Packer. I don't know what world I'm living in. I didn't know if I passed through some weird, bizarre space-time portal going from from Green Bay to Chicago. And I got there and we are living in a world where Brian Gutekunst is spending first-round picks on wide receivers and then trading future first-round picks for the privilege to pay a defensive player the highest paid defensive contract in the history of the NFL. What is going on? This is not something that we are used to. Brian Gutekunst took that urgency statement to heart, and Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. I've had 8 hours in a car straight. For those who don't know, I was going to an Oasis concert tonight, drove 4 hours to Chicago, and I almost made the stupid joke of like, You know what? If the trade's probably not going to happen, but if it happens, it's going to be the moment that I get the furthest point away from Green Bay that I could possibly be. It literally was the exact moment I got to my destination, the furthest away I could possibly be. 4 hours, including rush hour traffic in Chicago, just to turn around, miss the Oasis concert, so I could be right here with you guys. And I'll just be honest, there is nowhere I would rather be to talk about this. So then I had 4 hours back getting through Chicago rush hour traffic, Milwaukee rush hour traffic to get here to be able to talk about this deal. I've had 4 hours to sit and think about every little nuance of this. And I have not had a single second to write down anything of these thoughts or to gather my thoughts all together. So you guys are getting, things that have been up here just scrambled in my brain for about 4 hours straight. The first thing I will say is this. This is a absolute no-brainer deal for Green Bay. Have to do it. I have no idea how it'll end up in the long term. There will be repercussions both in the short term and in the long term. We'll talk about both of those. Short term, I do have a little concern about the run defense with Kenny Clark and Micah Parsons. We'll get into that eventually. We don't need to get into that right now. Down the road, there are going to be some things that you're going to need to do to borrow from future salary caps and kick some money down the road. And there will be repercussions from that as well. That's okay. That is fine. This is just one of those deals. When you get the opportunity to do it, you have to do it. And give a lot of people credit. First of all, Brian Gutekunst for having money in the bank to be able to go out and spend when you have the ability to acquire a player like this. A lot of times we'll see Brian Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers or Ted Thompson before him have, maybe 20 million left over in salary cap space, 30 million. And you're like, aren't they going to do something? Why are they not making use of that? Well, sometimes in order to have the opportunity to have something like this come along, you have to have the ability to have that money and actually do it. And the fact that they didn't go and blow all of their money already and have the resources available to do that, one of the reasons why they were probably able to pull off this trade of 2 firsts and Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons is because they are one of the teams that can actually afford him right now. And that's a very important aspect of this. Not every team could afford him. We heard from Jerry Jones. They basically narrowed their list to the people that could afford him and people who had a defensive tackle that they could trade because that was something that they were very interested in. Green Bay had both of those things. Thankfully, they had the defensive tackle. We'll talk about Kenny in just a moment as well. But when you get the ability to make a trade like this, you have to take it. And it could be, from a Wisconsin point of view, the next Dame Lillard trade. It could be a trade that ultimately is unbelievable at first, and it gives you all those goosebumps and all that excitement, and then never quite works out the way that you hope. It could be the next Reggie White situation. I get that was not a trade. The next Charles Woodson situation. I get that was not a trade. But you understand the context and the situation of going out and getting a potential legendary player to lead your defense. You've got an offensive coach. Hello, Mike Holmgren. Hello, Mike McCarthy. Hello, Matt LaFleur. You've got a quarterback that you went out of your way to acquire using a first-round draft pick. Hello, Brett Favre. Hello, Aaron Rodgers. Hello, Jordan Love. And then you go out and get your cornerstone defensive piece. Hello, Reggie White. Hello, Charles Woodson. Hello, Micah Parsons. Whether that amounts in Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, and Micah Parsons holding that Super Bowl trophy up, and Micah Parsons taking that victory lap around Lambeau Field a la Reggie White, that remains to be seen. Job not done. A lot of work still to do. But my goodness, does this not give you a real opportunity to go all in and make a run at it? And how many times, guys, do we talk about when the Aaron Rodgers trade was taking place, that this is going to be 2025 was the year that you had a real opportunity to make something like this happen. And 2025 was you didn't lose anybody in free agency of any value this year, right? There was no free agents pending, Eric Stokes, whatever. Like, there was nothing that you were going to lose that you had any real fear or trepidation of. You had all of your young players kind of starting to peak at the right time. You had another draft class. You had money to spend in free agency, and you had resources to spend if you wanted to. Hello, Aaron Banks. Hello, Nate Hobbs. Hello, Matthew Golden. Hello, Micah freaking Parsons. Season starts in just a little over a week. A week for Dallas. A week from tonight. It's going to be weird seeing Kenny Clark out there. Actually, let me take a quick aside. man, Kenny Clark, consummate professional. Love watching him as a member of the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about some of the reasons why you do this as well, but a really amazing Green Bay Packers career. Packers Hall of Famer for sure. Has been everything that they've needed in the middle for so many years. This defense went as Kenny went. It's not a nothing loss for this defense by any stretch of the imagination. His loss will be felt. He is healthy. This is not something that you probably do lightly. You do have to kind of take that into consideration. This is going to be a huge opportunity for some of those defensive tackles, which we'll talk about as well. But thank you to Kenny Clark for everything he gave to this team. He has been a Green Bay Packer through and through. It's not going to be easy or fun to see him with that Dallas star upon his helmet. But I hope he goes out personally, individually, and crushes it in every week but week 4 or anytime that they face the Green Bay Packers. I'll certainly still be cheering him on. And he certainly did not ask for this, right? He just is collateral in a huge deal for Micah Parsons. So a huge thank you to Kenny Clark. And by the way, and Justis, by the way, got this after me, but he got retweeted way more. I'm not bitter about it at all. I did tweet out prior to Justis. I see you, Justis. He didn't steal it, by the way. This was Ted's last draft pick that was still on the Packers, was Kenny Clark. So every Packer that's on the team is now a full Brian Gutekunst product. And Kenny was the last one of Ted's era. Slightly fitting that this is the last gift that Ted had to give, is to now help you start another generation of Green Bay Packers with Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay. So a really kind of cool synergy there and moment there with Kenny coming to with Kenny leaving Green Bay to get Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay. So again, huge thank you to Kenny. Go kill it. Go crush it. Hope you have an amazing season in Dallas again every week, but week 4. And just cannot state enough how much of a joy that it was to really watch him, especially in the prime. He's one of those people that I turned on the all-22 and just my eyes immediately go to him. Some of the battles he had in the interior. Like I said, the defense more often than not, when he was in his prime, went as Kenny went. If he was great, the defense was great. If he was okay, the defense was okay. And if he struggled, the defense struggled. I mean, he was the face of that defense for a really long period of time and was such an amazing pick by Ted. And like I said, a real consummate Green Bay Packer. Certainly going to miss seeing him in green and gold. All right, back to Micah here for just a moment. We haven't even jumped. And by the way, to all of you, I'm going to be here a while. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to try to get to questions. If I'm being honest, we already got 20 super chats in here. It's probably going to be a big super chat question. I see some ridiculous amounts in there already. Thank you guys so incredibly much for doing that. I promise you I will get to your super chats throughout the course of today's show. I'll probably be here. If you said that we're here for like 3 hours, I would not be surprised at all, by the way. So I'm going to talk probably a while and then I will get to questions. I promise we'll get to super chats. Maybe at some point I'll go to super chats just to kind of catch my breath a little bit and sort of regather my thoughts because it's all over the place. But I want to next go to with Micah, what he brings to this defense. The first thing in that realm is the combination with Jeff Hafley. I'm not sure that there's anybody that I would trust quite as much. Brian Flores, certainly in that conversation. There's maybe a couple others, but the combination of Jeff Hafley and Micah Parsons and what they're going to be able to do together. This is somebody that you're going to be able to line up all over the field. I heard Jerry Jones talking about with Micah, they would just kind of run at him. They don't need to use him as an edge defender on early downs if they don't want to. You still have Rashawn Gary and LVN. Those guys can be there on the edge. And you might say, well, yeah, you still want Micah Parsons on the field. Yeah, put him at linebacker. I mean, guess what? You're 4-3 right now on early downs. You want to go 4-3? You've got Gary and LVN at the edges. You've got Devontae Wyatt, and I'm guessing Colby Wooden. And again, we'll talk about those defensive tackles in just a moment. As your defensive tackles, you can go Quay, Cooper, Micah at linebacker. You don't need to put him on the edge on early downs. You could put him as a weak side linebacker in that scenario, or a strong side, probably strong side, because Edgerrin's probably still your weak with Quay at the mic. And now you've got the fastest freaking trio of linebackers in the history of mankind with Quay, Edgerrin, and Micah. That's an insane 4-3. And you still have LVN and Gary as defensive ends. Like, that is ridiculous. And oh, by the way, guess what? You want to have some fun there too? You could be in a 4-3, and all of a sudden you pinch inside a little bit. LVN kind of kicks to that kind of third defensive end role. And now you could have Rashawn Gary and Edgerrin Cooper as your outside linebackers. And now you've got Devontae Wyatt and probably Colby Wooden and LVN as your interior defenders. And now you've got still Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker. It turns into a 3-4 in a moment's notice. There is so much stuff that you're going to be able to do as Jeff Hafley because you have Micah Parsons on your team. You thought the idea of, when we were talking early in camp of Isaiah Simmons and some of the unique stuff he could do. I mean, we're just glancing the tip of the iceberg at this point of what you can do with Micah Parsons. Rush him off the edge over center like Zadarius Smith did. Double A-gap blitz with Edgerrin Cooper and Micah Parsons. Like, dude, both of those guys are a freaking nightmare in and of themselves. It could be me and Micah Parsons coming on a double A-gap, or me and Edgerrin Cooper coming on a double A-gap, and you're still afraid because that other guy is really freaking good. You may not have to worry about me, but you can't just let me free. I can still just get to the quarterback, right? So now both of those guys are just fear in the heart of God inside linebackers. And oh, by the way, still LVN and Rashawn Gary on the edges. And you could still drop one of those if you wanted to. You could drop both, Cooper and Micah. They might not even need to come on that play. They can just be your linebackers. And then you still just bring your front four. There is so many things that you can do with Micah Parsons, and Jeff Hafley is the perfect mastermind to utilize him in all those beautiful ways and have no idea what's going to come next. Another thing we talked about 2025. Another thing that we talked about is if you want to be a Super Bowl contender at some point in time in the playoffs, you have to be able to get there with 4. They know what's coming. You know exactly what you're doing. There's no surprise. Everyone in the stands knows you're going to cover with 7. You're going to bring your 4. You're going to cover everything up with your 5, primary defensive backs, 2 safeties that you want to keep deep, and you need to get there with 4 on a 3rd and 8. It's 3rd and 8, kind of game on the line situation, or 4th and 8, game on the line situation. And your coverage is only going to last for so long. You're going to go against some really good wide receivers in the playoffs. You're going to face some incredible quarterbacks. You're going to be able to get up on the line against those receivers. You got 2 safeties over the top. And can your front 4 get home? Your front 4 in those situations has to get home. You might be able to win a playoff game without that. You might be able to win 2 playoff games without it. You might even be able to get to the Super Bowl without it. But to go the entirety of it and win at least 2, if not 3 playoff games and a Super Bowl without a top, I'm going to say 8 at least pass rush, it's incredibly difficult to do. And now Green Bay has every right to be in that conversation on an obvious pass down. You're probably going to kick an LVN inside if you want and put LVN and Devontae Wyatt on the inside as rushers with Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary on the outside. And those 4 are coming. And you can also do some really unique stuff. It doesn't have to, it can just be Rashawn on one side, and then you can line up the other 3 in unique situations on the other. You can, again, line up that with still Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper feigning a double A-gap blitz. It's mind-numbing how many different things that you're going to be able to do with this one piece. The word chess piece in sports is so often overused. It's lame, it's cliche, and in most cases, it's not real. In this case, it is abundantly real, and they're going to be able to do so many things with him. The next thing is he will be a force multiplier for your defense. He is going to be somebody that helps everybody else out. For example, you're a little bit concerned about your secondary. Are the corners going to be able to hold up? Hello, Micah Parsons, somebody that is going to be able to get there and be able to cause the quarterback to have just a little bit more chaos, a little bit more pressure, and the corners not to have to cover as long. That's huge. Same thing for the safeties, right? And how about a ball hawking player, really in Evan Williams and specifically Xavier McKinney, where now you've got a quarterback that's more panicked, that's more apt just to throw up the ball or get rid of it because they're worried about getting absolutely murdered by Edgerrin Cooper. Guess who's going to benefit from that? Your safeties that are lurking in the deep middle of the field, maybe because Parsons is coming, maybe you don't have the ability to check that safety off. And now Xavier McKinney's just going to have a field day picking off those passes. How about Edgerrin Cooper in the middle? Again, you want to do some double A-gap stuff with Cooper and Parsons. before, Cooper's the guy that like, okay, we got to make sure that we block him. We cannot let him get there with immediacy. Now it's like, which one do we prioritize? Do we want to make sure that we're picking off Micah Parsons first and maybe Adrian Cooper's getting that step inside? Good luck. Good luck to you, sir, because that's not going to go well. And it's the same thing the other way around. If you want to stop Cooper first, then Micah Parsons is coming. You might get him on a running back. Good luck. Good luck to you with that. So he's going to help out Adrian Cooper with some of his pressure plays. Rashawn Gary, probably the biggest benefactor of this. Rashawn Gary, he of getting double team, triple team, chipped, etc. He is now going to have a lot of one-on-ones that he has the ability to win. And if you don't think Rashawn Gary's going to be fired up, that he's going to get those looks with Micah Parsons on the opposite side, that is going to be massive. And then, of course, it frees up Devontae Wyatt, LVN, anyone else that ends up on that defensive line as well, because all the attention is going to be going to Micah Parsons. He is a true, legitimate force multiplier. And I'll say it one more time. There are a few like that out there. And when you get the ability to go out and acquire a player like that, as Brian Gutekunst said, without saying the specific name, you have to be in the conversation and you have to figure out if that makes sense for your team. He ultimately gleaned that it was important for his team to do so, and he did exactly that. So this is to me, home run opportunity for Green Bay. They get a absolute stud on the defensive side of the ball. The other thing that we talked about, in order to win, yes, you need that pass rush. You also need stars. It takes some of the best to get you to and across the ultimate finish line. It's almost impossible. And there's a lot of players on this team that have the ability to become those star players. But you add Micah Parsons into that equation, he's immediately the best player on the team. All apologies to Xavier McKinney, who's also an absolute stud, and anyone else you want to put in that conversation. All apologies to them. But Micah Parsons is now the best player on this team. You had a team that many were putting in the Super Bowl conversation already, even if it was a Jace, maybe not on the top of that list, maybe that second tier of teams, right? You had a team that was already in that conversation that just added Micah Parsons to their team. Yes, they lose Kenny Clark. And this is probably a good opportunity to transition into that for those of you who are joining. Thank you so much. We got 2,000 people here already. We're 18 minutes in. I'm going to be here a while. I will get to your questions. I will get to your super chats. Again, there are some unbelievable super chats in there, some new members. Thank you guys so incredibly much. I promise you I will take the time to get to all of that. If I'm here till 3 a.m, I don't care. I'm not sleeping. Are you sleeping? I'm not sleeping. So yeah, I'm going to be here a while, and I promise you I'll get to as many questions as I can throughout the course of the night. But let's talk about that other side of it, right? Because there are going to be some things that you have to adjust to by making this deal. The first thing is defensive tackle. Kenny Clark is gone, and you still have 5. That's good news. So Justis gets off the hook. He doesn't have to eat the hat. He said if there were 6 defensive tackles on the team, he'd eat his hat. He gets by for now. He gets by. There was 6, but now there's only 5. You've got Devontae Wyatt. What a season this is for him. What a important season that this is for Devontae Wyatt. If you look at where Wyatt was at last year, let me just pull it up really quick here. Devontae Wyatt last year, I think it was like 400 some snaps. I might be a little low. I'm still in regular season here. He was at, I was high. 361 snaps a season ago. 361. He's now a number 1 defensive tackle. He's going to have to play 700-800 snaps this year, probably at that spot. This is a massive season for Devontae Wyatt. Colby Wooden. Some of you thought that he might get cut. He's your starter right now, would be my guess. I would be willing to guess, and I don't think it's particularly close, that Colby Wooden and Devontae Wyatt are your starters at defensive tackle. Colby Wooden's importance on this team just went up exponentially. Carl Brooks, Warren Brinson, and Nasir Stackhouse now become your top backups on that defensive tackle spot. I am slightly intrigued, by the way, if Green Bay has some interest in maybe acquiring a defensive tackle from somebody, whether it be now or whether it be at the trade deadline. I don't think that's going to be outside of the realm of possibility. They do still have the resources to do something like that if they want. Doesn't have to be somebody super expensive, but it is something that's just a little bit intriguing to me. And I do have some concern about not just not having Kenny Clark, but not having TJ Slayton as well. One of the things that Green Bay did such an incredible job of this past year was stopping the run at a much higher level. And TJ Slayton and Kenny Clark played big roles in that. Despite Kenny not being quite himself last year, he was still a really good run defender, as was TJ Slayton. So now you take both of those out and you're going to go with a lot more Colby Wooden. You're going to get a lot of Devontae Wyatt, who's not typically a really good run defender. Carl Brooks, not typically a good run defender. Warren Brinson's a rookie. Nazir Stackhouse is an undrafted rookie. There's going to be some question marks that are asked there by teams early and often, including Detroit in week 1. You can bet that they are going to be trying to run it right on that interior of Green Bay's defensive line, and you better have some answers for it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if you have Micah Parsons if you can't get into some 3rd and long situations. I'm not trying to be a wet blanket here. Trust me, we're all incredibly excited, but we're always going to live within the realm of realism, and there are going to be some things that you have to answer. I will say this, if you're looking for reasons for optimism within this group, Jeff Hafley, go back and listen to his press conferences this year. He has been effusive in his praise about the talent and depth in this defensive tackle room. He has mentioned Carl Brooks. He has mentioned Colby Wooden. He has mentioned Devontae Wyatt, but specifically like Wooden and Brooks and really Wooden have gotten a lot of praise for what they've been able to do. And I'm a huge Warren Brinson guy. I think he's going to be able to contribute right away. Stackhouse, I think, might take a little bit more time, but he's probably going to get thrown in there right away as well. This is a huge opportunity for a group of young defensive tackles to really make a name for themselves. And make no mistake, they're going to have to make a name for themselves unless there is some other corresponding move that gets them a defensive tackle that is going to start opposite Devontae Wyatt or within that group as they rotate a lot around. Because without Kenny, without TJ Slayton, there's going to be some questions asked on that interior of the defensive line. But I'll say it one more time. Jeff Hafley, well before this, like months ago, very early on, said that he loves the depth in his defensive tackle room. And I think keeping 6 is a great sign of that. And I'll say it one more time. I think Colby Wooden was playing some really good football. And this entire camp, easily the best that we've seen from him. And I'm a big fan of Warren Brinson as well. We'll see if those young players can hopefully make a much bigger impact, because they're going to have to. The Kenny Clark thing, just going back to that for a moment, there is a bit of genius in that trade with trading away Kenny Clark. If you go back, what was it, like a week, maybe a week and a half ago? I think it was about a week ago, maybe almost exactly. I did an episode on what is the reality of trading for Micah Parsons. What is the reality of trading for Trey Hendrickson? What is the reality of signing somebody like a Jadeveon Clowney if you want to go in one of those directions? What does that look like? What would that do to your team? And when we got to the Micah Parsons part of the conversation, I said, you're going to give him the highest paid defensive contract in football. And when you start looking ahead to next year, there are going to be some concessions that you have to make. Quay Walker is one of those concessions potentially at linebacker. Well, you have Tyron Hopper. Maybe that can just take that spot now. That doesn't seem the worst in the world. Plus Micah can play some linebacker as well. Rasheed Walker, you've already got Anthony Belton and Jordan Morgan as tackles, young up and coming tackles. You can say the same thing for Sean Ryan. Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. Well, you still have Reed, Wicks, Golden, Savion Williams, and you're probably going to be able to go out and add a couple more to that room next year if you need to. You can kind of go position by position and say, hey, some of these positions that you are having free agents for that you might not have the money for anymore, you do have some guys in hand already that can theoretically take on the workload there. But there were 2 players in particular that are under contract that I said, you're probably just going to have to move on from those, or really kind of push their money into the future. Kenny Clark and Elton Jenkins. And with Kenny Clark, the way that you looked at his contract, if you were going to make a deal like this, is that he's probably on the team this year and you're probably going to have to release him next year. That was just kind of the truth of where you were going to be at from a salary cap standpoint. I said that before I even considered really putting him in the deal. Quite frankly, I didn't think anyone was going to be interested in taking on even what was kind of remaining of his contract. It makes sort of sense in hindsight, maybe not for Dallas because they're not competing this year and next, not at that level. But I didn't really kind of put it in those terms, but you're probably moving on from him anyway. If one of the things that they want in that deal is a player that you're probably going to have to release or try to trade next year. And I don't think you're going to probably get that much in return for him at next year when he's getting over 30 and has played a lot of football at that point. If it takes him to throw in the deal with the 2 firsts that you were going to basically have to give no matter what, and you get to hold on to all of your young up and coming players, Dallas made a huge mistake here. This is no disrespect to Kenny, by the way. They should be asking for young players, cheap players under team control. Guys like Javon Bullard, guys like LVN, guys like, even to a lesser extent, like Devontae Wyatt would have even probably made a little bit more sense for them. Although Devontae Wyatt is actually on the older side, all things considered, with how new he is to the league. But you get my point. Like, those are the players they should be going after. Green Bay got to hold on to all of their young assets. They didn't have to ship anything out that was like, 24, 25, 23-year-olds that are still under cheap team control. They got to get rid of one of their bigger contracts that was going to have to come up anyway. I'll go back to that does not mean that that's not going to have some pain points maybe right here and now. Maybe as quickly as going against Detroit and Washington in weeks 1 and 2 as they try to run the ball right down your throat. You're going to have some answers for that. But if you can stop the run still, now you've got a superhuman helping you in pass rush and doing some really unique things that I think Jeff Hafley is just going to have a field day with. And so there is a little bit of, hey, we're going to be probably a little bit worse on run defense. I hope we're not. If we're not, good night. It's over. You're just going to have a top defense, right? But you're getting a much better pass rush. I don't think that is a entire trade-off that you can make. They're going to have a plan to stop the run. And I'll just add one more thing on top of that. I think they can do enough on the interior. I mean, Wyatt was already playing a bunch, at least some on early downs, maybe not a bunch, but Wyatt was playing some of that. And, you had, I think Colby Wooden's going to be able to take on a little bit of that as well as maybe a couple others. I think you can get by with that. And one of the things I will say is the reason why is everything else in run defense got a lot better. It needs to stay that way. But Rashawn Gary was so much better on run defense. Everyone's run fits and they're taking responsibility for staying in their gaps, staying home, doing what they were supposed to do. The linebackers improved quite a bit. We saw that defense take over the game a whole heck of a lot more when Edgerrin Cooper started to get better. The safeties, Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, all being good at coming up from safety and playing the run. I think Nate Hobbs, Javon Bullard being able to be in the slot as well, whoever you want to use there, their physicality and their ability to come up and play the run as well is really important. So it's not just like, well, we've got, a couple run stuffing defensive tackles, so we're going to be good against the run. No, there's a lot that goes into that. And I also think that you might be able to drop a safety from time to time as well to help you stop the run. There's some things that you can do there to help mitigate that a little bit. It still should be a question mark, but I'm not super concerned about it at the moment, but it is worth monitoring. Doesn't matter if you have a stud third down specialist, and he's obviously more than that, but you get my point. If you're in 3rd and 1s constantly, or you just don't even get to 3rd downs. So that is going to be something that we have to keep an eye on and monitor just a little bit. When I say that there are like a billion thoughts going through my mind and I'm trying to keep track of everything that I want to talk about, it is wild right now. So bear with me on everything as you're just getting a complete stream of consciousness, Andy, at the moment with everything that I just have on the top of my head. One of the unique things of this, and maybe this is just me, it is remarkable to me how similar this idea is, even just Jerry Jones talking about it, to the Luka Doncic situation from Dallas. Luka Doncic gets traded away from Dallas. In turn, you get a aging player that they think is better at a specific area of defense. In Anthony Davis's case, just a better defensive player than Luka. In this case, it's that they wanted a better run defender than Micah. So you trade away your superstar stud player, and in return, you're getting an aging player that you think is going to help your defense in a better or just different way. And you get a 1st-round pick. In this case, they obviously got, what was it, Max Christie or something like that for Dallas. But it was remarkable of how like some of the talking points for the Dallas Mavericks were almost the same talking points for the Dallas Cowboys in this one. And that you had these two superstars, Luka Doncic, and I would put probably Luka just a tip above, where Micah is, but even like Luka, Micah, it's like, it's uncanny. Like you're having a very similar situation here. I don't know what's in the water in Dallas. There is a piece of me that is surprised that there was no team that offered more than 2 firsts and a Kenny Clark in this situation. But I'll go back to give Green Bay a lot of credit for having the finances to be able to make a deal like this work. And it's remarkable too that you're making a deal like this and you're getting younger. The youngest team in the NFL just got younger. You're going from almost 30-year-old Kenny to 26-year-old Micah. You're actually getting even younger in this deal by doing it. Usually that's not the case. Usually as you go all in, you're going for somebody that is maybe going to be like 28, 29 years old, or even like a Trey Hendrickson, right? Who was 30. If they would have done something like that, he's 26. He fits right in with the core of this team, which is another beautiful aspect. The other thing that I'll add on top of that is I gave credit to, Brian for having that cash on, or that the money on hand, the salary cap space on hand to be able to do something like this, not to mention the resources to be able to do the trade in totality. We've seen the memes. There's no diss on Aaron Ellis, who does an amazing job of the sledding memes. But the sledding hill, Titletown District, all this stuff, the holding the draft in Green Bay, can't you just focus on winning the Super Bowl? The ability to have all of this cash on hand, the signing bonus that they're going to hand Micah Parsons when they've already given out huge signing bonuses for Nate Hobbs, Aaron Banks, like they've already given a huge signing bonus to Jordan Love, all of this cash up front that allows them to do some of this stuff. If they don't have the cash on hand, if they don't have that financial reserve, this deal just doesn't get done. If this team is not financially soluble, and have that cash, it's a deal that doesn't happen. You can talk all you want about the draft picks that you have in the salary cap space. If you don't have cold, hard cash to be able to pay that massive signing bonus up front, you don't get to do this deal. So credit to Mark Murphy. As this is not, I guess, on his legacy. It takes place after the fact, but don't discount what he has done to put this team in a financially responsible situation that they can hand out a huge stack of cash to get Micah Parsons to sign that deal to come to Green Bay. And then that kind of brings us in a similar vein into that Ed Policy conversation. Okay. How much was Ed Policy involved in this? Again, for those of you joining, 2,400 people in chat, thank you so much. I promise you I'm going to be here for a while. I will get to as many questions. I will promise you I will get to all of your super chats. And we'll probably do that momentarily here as I kind of, again, regain my thoughts. But thank you again so much for being here. The Ed Policy. Well, was Ed Policy involved? Did he put a lot of pressure? Did Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur feel like they were on the hot seat and had to get something done? Here's my take on it. You know as well as I do. I have no insider information. I've not talked to anybody. I don't have anybody on the inside that's spoken to Ed Policy. I don't have a talking dog on Twitter that is tweeting at me of what Ed Policy is thinking. Kudos to Ricky, by the way, he's just hitting it out of the park. I don't know what's going on, but the memed dog on Twitter is now one of the elite NFL insiders. Like, life makes no sense anymore. Packers are trading first round picks for future player for stud defensive ends, giving up first round picks not giving up, but using first round picks on wide receivers. And the number one NFL insider is the dog. I don't know what's going on anymore. I feel like I'm in bizarro world, but it's a good bizarro world to be in, I guess. Matthew Golden, Micah Parsons are Green Bay Packers. So I'm happy to be in whatever twilight zone we're in right now. So going back to Ed Policy, I do not believe Ed Policy came in, took over and said, all right, boys, we're going to go make a splash. I'm going to make it known that we're in the Ed Policy era now, and it's time to get going. Go out. I want to see Micah Parsons on my desk by, Friday morning. I don't think there's anything like that. I would be pretty stunned if Ed Policy is just all of a sudden being like, what we need to do after years of success in Green Bay. You can argue maybe not the Super Bowls that you would have wanted, but what we're going to do? We're going to upset the apple cart in a major way, and it's time for the Ed Policy show. I really, really don't believe that Mark would leave and just Ed would be like, your time is up. My time is now. Go full John Cena on this thing. I don't see that being the case. What I will say, and I'll add even on one thing on top of that, I tweeted this out as well. I think this deal gets done even if Mark Murphy is still in charge. I think. Don't know, but that would be my guess. I think that Goody would have done this, and it's a really good deal. Again, so it would have been tough to pass this up no matter what, but I think this deal gets done even if Ed Policy is not in the equation. But what I will say is that Ed Policy went on record and said, we're not doing contract extensions right now for Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. I do not believe that puts them on the hot seat. I think this, and I think Aaron Nagler talked about this as well, this is an evaluation year, and it only makes sense. You're a new president, CEO. Why are you going to jump to do something when you don't have to? There's 2 years left on their deal. Let's watch this for a year. Let me be in the seat. Let me see all the minutia and details that are going into this. And if there are problems, I have options now. There's really no rush for Ed Policy to kind of make any decision there. It's only smart for him to say, yeah, we'll address it next year when you guys have 1 year left on your deal. There's no need to do it now. And I kind of just want to get the lay of the land a little bit. But inherently in that is it becomes really an evaluation year for Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. And there is no promise to either of them that they just automatically get to come back and be the GM and the coach. I think they will. And I've talked about it on numerous occasions. I think it would have taken something catastrophic. I'm talking like worse than a 6-11 season to see any major sort of change there. I think it would have taken something. And even then, if it was like due to an injury to Jordan or something, they're probably still off the hook. But I think it would have taken something catastrophic to get to that point where you really would have considered, firing, moving in a different direction or anything like that. Maybe he would have made him play out another year and said, all right, I'm going to give you one more year. Let's see what you got. But I think the big thing here is there is a little bit more of a microscope. Just imagine you're the head coach or you're the GM. You have a brand new boss. He already goes out of his way to say they're not extending your contracts right now. And now you're just sort of looking and being like, all right, we better do something here to make sure that we get to stay in control of this team. And I think just human nature probably does take a little bit of a part here. So I'll say it one more time. I don't think policy gave any sort of verbatim order to do anything like this or wanted to make his mark. It's the start of the Ed policy era. I really don't think that. I really don't think that Goody would have turned this deal down even if Mark Murphy was still in charge. But I do think via human nature, there probably is just a little bit more pressure. And those two probably would like to go out and win a Super Bowl just in general, but win a Super Bowl or have an insanely successful season to make sure that they are getting that next contract extension. And if the opportunity to do something like that only costs you two hopefully very late first-round picks and an aging defensive tackle that is not a rip on Kenny. I love you, Kenny. But you would do that again every single time. So I think there may have been just a little, nudge, not even probably intended, but just a nudge in that level of pressure. And just, again, kind of looking over your shoulder a bit that maybe does lead to maybe Brian being a bit more aggressive. But I'll say it one more time. I think he does that deal no matter what. And he should have done that deal no matter what. It has been interesting to see, and I think rightfully so, to see everyone celebrating Green Bay for this trade and completely obliterating Dallas for this trade. In general, what Jerry Jones was trying to sell in his press conference by saying, hey, we get 2 first-round picks, we get Kenny Clark, and we're going to get so much salary cap space to be able to go spend on players that this is not Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark and 2 firsts. This is Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark, 2 firsts, and $40 million a year that we can go spend in free agency. You get, 3 $13 million guys. You're adding 3 really good players to your team, not to mention Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks. That's a significant amount of resources that you can utilize as a team. And it is a little bit more spread out. And, again, with Green Bay, if Micah suffers an injury, that's a lot of resources that you just put into one player who at any point could be missing for a period of time if there is a legitimate injury situation. So I ultimately do see where he's coming from. And I would give Dallas a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt if it just didn't seem so utterly rudderless with what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. They could have got more for him if they traded him before the draft. More people are available to spend money. There's more resources. Teams have more draft picks that they can trade away. Dallas could have got those draft picks to help them right here and right now. They would have got a bigger haul if they did it. If they wanted to keep Micah, they would have been able to do it for cheaper had they done it before the draft as well. They're dragging their feet on this situation, and trading him now got them probably less than they would have. And not probably, it got them less than they would have. And if they wanted to keep him, it would have been cheaper earlier. To get to this point and then make that decision is a form of malpractice in and of itself. And the comment of like, we think we're a better team right here and now. I mean, come on, Jerry. Come on, Jerry. I know that we're a little bit up there in age, but not even you can spin that. There's not a single team in the world. Pull all 31 other franchises and say, hey, you've got to win this season. You have a choice between Micah Parsons and Kenny Clark. Which would you rather have? And I love Kenny Clark. There's not even a debate there. It's not even a question. So, I can't really, and I guess he made the conversation of saying like, hey, we could still use this draft capital now to go get people. Maybe, but for the most part, teams are set. They're ready to go out and compete a week from now. Like there's no team for the most, but there's maybe a team or a couple teams out there that would be like, sure, we'll give you a player for a couple first round draft picks or something like that. But for the most part, teams want to go into the season and see what they have first. They spent all this time assembling this roster, and to upset it right before the season and to like set that message to the rest of your team of like, oh, actually we're sellers and we're not really, going to win this year. That's a tough message to send to the rest of your organization, your fan base, your players right before the start of the season. And I think that's probably what Dallas is feeling like a little bit right now. Their fans, their players, etc. And oh, by the way, week 4, you thought, some of those rivalries with Dallas and Green Bay were good. Micah Parsons returning to Dallas in week 4. And Kenny Clark, too, against Green Bay. That's going to be a really fun matchup and certainly add some intrigue. You get Kenny Clark against Green Bay this year. You get Aaron Jones against Green Bay twice. You get Aaron Rodgers against Green Bay. We're certainly going to see some old friends all throughout the course of the season in some pretty big matchups with Pittsburgh, Dallas, and 2 against Minnesota. Just with those 3 players alone this upcoming season, we're about to get a real crash course in that. All right. I don't think I've breathed for about 42 minutes. Contractually, this is not oh God, we've got to give Micah Parsons this huge contract. When you have Micah Parsons on your roster, or you can trade for him, you get to give Micah Parsons that contract. You are blessed to give Micah Parsons that contract. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to pay your best players so that they're going to remain on your team for the foreseeable future. There are a lot of teams that would have liked to have given Micah Parsons that contract. I think that's the crazy thing for Dallas is they didn't have to go out and spend draft capital on Micah Parsons. They just could have had him for the contract. That's mostly the easy part when you have a player like that. I think that's why so many people are just so stunned that he would ultimately do this. I think it's why so many people were like, yeah, I don't really care what other teams are offering. They're just going to give him the contract in the end just because you don't trade these players away. They're so few and far between. And they're such movers of what you can do as a franchise. They're guys, the bottom tier football players, like your 52nd and 53rd player, are so good at the sport of football, you have no idea. It may not seem like it at times. They are incredibly, incredibly good. And a lot of times, the difference between like your 38th player and your like 8th player is pretty minimal. And a lot of times, the difference between like your 15th player and like your 3rd player is pretty minimal. But those top few that you have that are just going to set everything up for you, that are going to make it that the offensive coordinator in this case is legitimately losing sleep at night the night before and has to put in a whole ass game plan because you have this player on the team. Those players do so much for you, and you get to give that player the contract. So I don't have any concern with the contract in this situation. It will cause, again, some choices down the line. I don't want to say issues or things like it'll cause some choices that you have to make down the line. That's for sure. Do not expect Green Bay to be big spenders in free agency. The draft is going to be a little less fun. You don't have a first round pick this upcoming year. You don't have a first round pick the following year. I've made the argument, and I think I'm right in saying this. If there's a team that can get away without having first round picks, and I know maybe you're inserting the joke here of like, yeah, it's because they're not good at first round picks. I'm not even saying that. This team is just really good at 2nd through 7th round picks, finding good players all around. Edgerrin Cooper, 2nd round pick. Jaden Reed, 2nd round pick. Tucker Kraft, 3rd round pick. Sean Ryan, 3rd round pick. Zach Tom, 4th round pick. Romeo Dobbs. We could go on and on. Rasheed Walker. Like there's really good starters all over this team that had nothing to do with being a first round pick. If anybody and anyone can survive not having a first round pick, it is Brian Gutekunst. And he'll maneuver around. He'll maybe take that 2nd round pick. And if he needs to move up a little or down a little, gain some extra draft capital here or there, he will do so. But these drafts are going to be a little less exciting, a little bit more of a bummer when you don't have hopefully a pick until pick 64. You could be picking 64th overall as your first draft pick. I'll certainly take that if that means winning the Super Bowl. But if you're the runner-up, you don't win that Super Bowl and you're picking 63rd. That stuff does have some repercussions down the line. So this is not something that, again, is not going to be without consequences is harsh. I don't mean it in that regard, but there will be repercussions, if you will. There will be effects felt down the line for making this deal. But when you have the youngest team in the league, so many young, talented players, now you're adding a 26-year-old, arguably future Hall of Famer, and you're really, really good at not only drafting in rounds 2nd through 7, but finding good talent all over the place, whether it be off practice squads, cheap free agents, guys like Chris Brooks that are just chilling out there. This front office is set up to live in these situations. some of these draft classes, just put it this way. Let's just argue that the next 2 first-round picks would have been Darnell Savage and Eric Stokes. You don't even lose anything. You actually save. You actually save in that situation. I will say Eric Stokes was really good his first year. Darnell Savage certainly had moments. But if they didn't take Darnell Savage and Eric Stokes in the first round, they save money. That 5th-year option that they gave Savage doesn't take place. You start probably some better corners instead of Stokes in a couple of those years. Might be better. So hopefully they were about to draft the next Eric Stokes and Darnell Savage the next year. Now, if they lost out on, Jair Alexander and Matthew Golden or something like that, that's a little bit different. But if there's any team that's set up to, again, draft really well in round 2 through 7 without having those first round picks and to be able to, kind of make do without, some of those top picks and just be able to live in the 2nd through 7th rounds, it's probably Brian Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers. All right. I think I've said for the most part all I've wanted to say. Let me just run through really quick on my timeline here if there's anything else that I wanted to kind of add, because I was kind of tweeting through some things as I was stuck in dead standstill traffic. Huge thank you to Ross and Jacob Morley, by the way, for doing the live show before me. A huge thank you to, I think it was Aaron, and I don't even know. I didn't even get to read it because I was so freaking busy. But there were 3 people, and I know Aaron was one of them, who did an emergency audio episode right away. And that's up there on the audio channel as well. So huge thank you to them for doing that. It was Jacob Westendorf. I should have known that one for sure. Eli Berkovitz and Aaron Alice for going live. That one, again, is out on the audio channel. Thank you to Tyler Chin of Blue Wire for uploading that podcast while I was out on the road. Tyler Herrick for getting the thumbnails over to me immediately so we could have a couple of these things. And thank you so much for you guys too for being here. I see all the super chats, which we're going to get to, and right now the gifts, the member gifts, and everything like that. Thank you for being patient with me. It could not have been a worst case scenario where I get 4 hours away from home and it happens. Just was what it was. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me and waiting up with me tonight. And like I said, I'm gonna be here a while yet to go through everything. But just going through if there's anything else. We talked about Jeff Hafley. Talked about Ed Policy. Let's see. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Oasis probably just coming on in Chicago right now. Tier. This is one we didn't talk about too much. There is going to have to be some maxing of the credit card coming up, meaning you're going to have to borrow from future salary caps and do some gymnastics down the line. If you're not doing that in the NFL right now, you're not trying. You just have to, because other teams are going to. There's going to be 3, 4, 5, maybe more teams that are doing that. And if they're going all in and they're doing everything that they can to win and you're not, I mean, just good luck. I mean, especially like one of those teams, 2 of those teams might get it wrong, but one of them is probably going to get it right. So when you are in a situation where you've got a super young, talented team and you need to take that next step, you better be aggressive. You better be ready to borrow from the future. And I don't mind at all that Green Bay is going in that direction. In fact, I would have been pretty disappointed if they weren't willing to do exactly that. All right. I think those were my kind of main takeaways. Very interested to see what number. I don't know if anyone's got it yet. I haven't been able to read any of your chats. I haven't been able to kind of keep up with everything, but I'm very interested to see what number he gets. Shout out to those of you who have been in my DMs that have been on top of some of this stuff and been helping me out along the way. That's been pretty cool. And like I said, this was one where I'm not used to that. Not used to seeing some of that stuff come through. And a lot of people were on top of it this time around. Look who it is. The one, the only, Justis Mosqueda. Justis, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. I'm about to pour myself a drink. I've been waiting on this one for a while. Was going to start drinking at probably 4:30 my time. And then my girlfriend reminded me we made plans to babysit our friend's kid at 5. So I did that, recorded a pod with Tex. That's out on the Frozen Tundra Frequencies feed if you guys want to go check that out after we're done here with Andy, or if, sometime later this week. Got home and then saw you were live, and I was like, see what people are talking about.
It's a fun day. It's a fun day.
And big move. Huge move.
Yeah, you don't have to eat your hat anymore. You don't have to eat your hat anymore. That's the big news.
Well, Andy, I think it's time.
You're going to do it now?
I think it's time.
Just be amazing. There we go. That's
here,
what it's time
baby.
for.
We're here.
That's awesome.
We did it. We got Micah Parsons.
We
tricked Jerry Jones.
We
got two picks in the 20s, and we're going to cut in 2026.
Let's start there. Parsons. What do you think of the compensation that they had to give up and the contract that they had to give up for Micah? What was your gut reaction to that?
I was told last night. I wrote that article at APC. That sourced a bunch of
really good stuff, by the way.
I knew. I was told athletes first believed that they had a number that was in the range of $45 million per year. What that actually looks like, I don't know. It could be $45 million per year base, and then the rest of the money in the Micah Parsons contract is like incentives, where it's like, you make the Pro Bowl, it's another $500,000. You make the Super Bowl, it's another $500,000. You win the Super Bowl, it's another $500,000. Stuff like that. I would guess that once we get the hard numbers, right, it's probably going to look something like it's down to it's down to $45 million per year. Obviously, that's going to escalate. It's going to be backloaded, all that stuff. Compensation wise, it's right around what
did you see Mulligetta's tweet at Andrew Brandt? Where
they said it was fluff?
Yes. Yeah. He's like,
I saw that.
Andrew Brandt said there was like, he probably was like, I think he hashtagged something like fluff or something. And Mulligetta came right back and he's like, why don't you do some research on it? And then like hashtag like no fluff or something like that. So it just,
Mulligetta's great at his job. Mulligetta should be running the NFLPA. He's done so much more for players than the union has in recent years. Also, I still just think it is the funniest thing that like the most powerful agent in the NFL, his name is Mulligetta. He's the money getter. It's his name.
Mulligetta. Yeah. I never even put that together.
It's very funny. As far as the competition,
Chris Moneymaker winning the World Series of Poker. Like, sometimes the script writers just get really lazy of like, who's going to win the World Series of Poker? Chris Moneymaker. Who's going to be the top agent? Mulligetter. Like, come on.
Yeah. I thought, I was under the impression it was always going to be 2 first plus something. Had heard a bunch of different names thrown around as the plus something. Never was it Kenny Clark. I always had a hunch because nothing was consistent on what was added as that last piece, that people were just taking guesses. I mean, people brought up Romeo Doubs because the Packers, it's an expiring contract, right? Usually if you want to keep a guy around, you extend him. Teams know that. So teams are like, wait, do you actually want this guy? LVN was another guy who was thrown out because of, they play the same position, or maybe they will. I mean, who knows? And then I'd also heard that a second round pick was a possibility. I think it would have been really tough to part away with a second round pick because you just need cheap contracts, man. Because I was listening to you a little bit off and on. I've been doing laundry and stuff like that because I'm trying to earn some brownie points over the last couple of days. It's spending a lot of time, a lot of late nights doing work, calling people, sending emails, DMs, stuff like that, texts. But yeah, it's pretty much what I thought it was going to be. I mean, the way I perceived it, right? Really, after waivers yesterday, I really started trying to figure out what's going on with the situation, just because we had so many other things that we had to deal with where we're tracking cut downs, and I'm like, oh, Josh Wiley might be a guy that the Packers are interested in, and stuff like that, right? Those were more relevant, but as soon as waivers were done, I kind of tried to like actually figure out what is going on here, which is not something that I had done before. Became very apparent that things had shifted recently, from both the Packers and the Cowboys side, and that there was real interest. When I posted that article in the morning, I did not think that this deal was going to get done. I don't know if you heard the Jerry Jones press conference. It was like 45 minutes long.
Yep.
He brought up that he was unsure if it was going to even happen starting this morning, right?
Because
so that tells you
practicing. Yeah, Clark was practicing this morning. He said, yeah.
But as soon as Bill Huber of Sports Illustrated, shout out to him again.
Yep.
Um,
Stud.
I don't really look. I don't know if I don't know if you'll get offended by this. I don't consider you as part of the beat. I feel like you're part of
Me?
me. Yeah, I feel like you're
Oh,
part
I'm
of
I'm
like,
a 1,000,000% not part of the beat. No, I'm
but
not
you're
offended
there
by
at
that at all.
practice and stuff sometimes.
I
So
yes, but
yeah.
no, like, so here's what I consider the beat. The beat are the guys that are there, like all the press conferences, like even like the coordinators, coaches, etc. They're in the
Mhm.
locker room every single day. They're doing the away. I don't think Bill does the away games because he doesn't get it through SI or whatever. But most of them are at the away games. They're doing everything every day. It's not feasible for me to do that. It actually would be like a huge loss for me to do that stuff. It's way more advantageous for me to do this, and I enjoy this more than doing that stuff. So no, I'm not offended at all. And whenever if anyone says beat writer, like I'm not going to take the time to correct them or whatever. I've never once in my entire time considered myself a beat writer. So no, you're good.
It's like when people are like, "Justice is a good reporter," and I'm like, I don't do report." Like, I guess I did today because of the Parsons thing, but like I put on the reporter cap like twice a year,
Yep.
maybe. That's it. But my point was Huber and Silverstein, I think, are the two best beat reporters on the beat. Whereas,
Both really
and
good.
Wildy's up there too. Where it's like if they hint at something, right, it means a lot
It's
because
legit.
they've
Yeah.
done so much background, and they, if they write about it, it's happening. So when he posted this morning, like an hour, maybe like 2 hours after my thing, he posted the Cowboys are now open
Yep.
to trades. I was like, this thing's getting done. So like Tex and I immediately at APC, we're like, we got to get a pre-write done, right? Um, I know you were in Chicago. I was hanging out at the house, but my phone rang, and as soon as my phone rang, I was like, it's Micah's a Packer. Like I just knew because it was things are gonna move quick, right? And like Jerry said that too. Um, Everyone knew the score in this situation. There are guys, please, please, for the love of God, media literacy is very important in this country. Remember all of the national reporters who told you this absolutely had no traction at all. Jerry Jones goes up there and says, "Hey, we've been working on this thing for weeks." And then they ask him, "Well, why didn't you confirm the reports that he was actually on the trade block?" And he says, "Well, what does that serve me?
Yep.
I want you to think that we're not trading
He's not
him so that we
interested.
can
Yep.
bump the price up." That's
Yep.
why I wrote that article at APC, where I was like,
Again,
I
so
want
good.
you guys to understand how this stuff gets made because a lot of these national report, like one, this is a dumb media thing, and it doesn't really have to do with the Parsons stuff. But I'm gonna go on this little rant, and you have to sit with me. One of the most embarrassing things in the world is Tom Pelissero tweeted out yesterday, I believe, during cut downs. He did a copy paste from an agent,
I know
and
exactly what you're
at
gonna
the
say.
end, it says our career
Our
because he
we
didn't
are,
even,
yeah, yep.
yeah, our career. Um, these big national reporters are basically PR for either teams or agents at
Agents.
this point,
And you have
and
to
all they do
parse out
is
which one they are.
it's just deny, 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 deny until the thing happens, and then they get the news and they get to throw it out there. Which, to me, I don't know. Does it really move the needle if it's Rappaport or Pelissero or Schefter? Like, I don't really care. It's just something that goes on the bottom of the ticker, right?
Yep.
I'm much more interested in how the sausage is made and to kind of show people like what these processes are actually like. And that's
Yep.
why I wrote that piece because there was smoke. Again, I don't think that the Packers were even sure that they were going to get a deal done. They did a bunch of work last night. I know that. I had one source on that before I wrote the article, and I got another source between when I posted the article and when Micah actually got traded. Um, they did a bunch of work last night that they were
So I
not
heard as
planning.
well.
So there were absolutely 100% signs for people who were willing to not just deny, and everyone else got made to feel like they were crazy. So
We gotta, you know how in DC when all the pizza parlors like light up right before like something big's about to happen, and at like because they're all delivering pizzas to the
yeah,
Pentagon right before. We gotta
yeah.
have somebody just on like late night toppers watch near Lambeau Field to see if all of a sudden at like 11 p.m. there's some like toppers truck pulling in with like 14 pizzas or
And
something.
Andy, it crossed my mind. Do I know someone who has a Ring camera near Matt LaFleur's house, near Gutekunst's house, near the Lambeau facility, or I guess the Packers facilities, right?
Yep.
That all I needed was a car owned by one of those two individuals moving late at night after they had already left the facility
And now
to
we're going
come
back
back,
in.
right?
Yeah.
Like I wanted to get the Packers worked late on Wednesday in the article, but I didn't have a second source for that. So I couldn't do it until after. And then by that point, like Huber had already broken that, like, you know, the Cowboys are open to trade offers. And it's like, all right, at that point, it's a matter of time because it seemed like it was always Green Bay. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if you talked about this. I thought it was really interesting. Jerry brought up that they had basically ruled out every team that wasn't offering a starting
The D
caliber
tackle.
defensive tackle.
Yep. Do you think they would have accepted Wyatt?
I think they were looking at a nose tackle because they bombed so bad on Ozzie Smith. Yeah, because they have Osa. They already have Osa. So
that's true. Kenny and Osa is a fun tackle group.
2 UCLA guys.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Osa's from up here. Osa's from Portland. If you don't know, he was like an undefeated state champion wrestler like all 4 years at the high school level. His brother was Oa, who was a first round pick. Or no, he was a third round pick, but he was projected to be first. He had some like knee injuries and stuff like that. But even when Oa was coming out, like everyone in Portland, because they played at the San Barlow, everyone in Portland was like, yeah, this guy who's gonna be like in the first round, like he's solid, but Osa's the one. Like everyone knew that like he was the most talented one in the family, which is kind of funny. In base, is Parsons gonna play Sam or is he gonna play D end?
I wondered the same thing. I kind of thought Sam. I would do Sam. I would do LVN and Gary or like whatever defensive ends that you want on base. With probably, I think Wooden's going to start. By the way, I think as stands right now, I think it's going to be Wooden and Wyatt, and then I think you're going to have Quay as the Mike, Edgerrin as the Will, and then I think you're going to have Parsons as the Sam. That's what I would do. You could also do some fun 3-4 stuff as well if you really wanted to. But that's how I would probably do it. And then on obvious passing downs, just buckle up. They're going to put him effing everywhere.
So my thought, I'd kind of talk this through with Tex, right? So they're going to be in nickel 2/3 of the time. Nickel defense. At least,
yep.
Nickel defense. They're playing 5 defensive backs, 2 off-ball linebackers, and then your standard defensive line, right? And those looks, Parsons 100,000% is going to be an edge rusher, right? The only question is those last third of plays, where is he going to line up? The Packers this preseason did a whole lot of underfronts and a whole lot of 3-4 looks out of 4-3 personnel. Justis, what the hell does that mean? All that means is that Lucas Van Ness basically kicks inside to be a third defensive tackle, and Micah Parsons, or a outside linebacker, a Simon linebacker, walks to the line of scrimmage and essentially becomes, the edge defender.
Yep.
I think he could absolutely do that. In those 2 looks, here's the problem. In those 2 looks, the only defensive end on the entire team that you really want to kick down into a reduced spot is LVN. So I do think that like maybe you could
think Cox could do a little bit of it.
Cross train him. I don't know. They didn't really do it with Cox. They did it a lot with Sorrell. And Sorrell wasn't great.
Sorrell makes sense.
Yeah. I think Sorrell's just too young. I don't think he needs to be doing that, especially if he's dealing with the injury and stuff like that. I do wonder if they like in underfronts and the 3-4 looks, they play Mike as the Sam. And then if they're going to play a true stack 4-3 where it's 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, 3 guys off, then maybe you let Micah play DN there, give LVN some rest so that he can be fresher, right?
Yep.
And I hate to be a special teams guy. LVN's going to play a ton of special teams reps too, right? So you want him on a pitch count a little bit, especially if Micah's coming on this team. And then you have just McDuffie coming off of the bench there. So you almost have like 2 personnel groups for your 4-3. I think that would be interesting. I know someone brought up, like, do you think Micah is going to get a full share of snaps in week 1? No.
Shouldn't. Yeah.
I think he's going to play nickel spots and he's going to rush the passer. I think he's on designated get after Jared Goff in week 1. And that's pretty much what his job is going to be.
What about you didn't talk much about like double A gap looks with like him and Cooper, because that to me is what I'm like already drooling about.
Yeah, or like any of the, I mean, now you can like feasibly use LVN as like a D tackle on some of these like 3rd and longs and stuff like that, where, you know, you only have 4 guys down, right? So you only need 1 defensive tackle on the field. Maybe it's, you know, Wyatt, LVN, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and you're playing coverage, Andy. And you're dropping 7 guys into coverage. That's not going to be fun for a lot of quarterbacks to deal with. So
No, sir.
No, man. I'm very excited about this. Everything started trending this way, right? I still wasn't sure if I believed that he would end up being a Packer until the Huber report. And then the Huber report dropped, and I was like, this, like, it can happen literally any second.
I got a text from somebody I don't know, or I got a DM, excuse me, at 3:11 p.m. What do we know the exact time of trade? Like 3:30, something like that. I want to say. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so 3:11, I got the DM, and it said Micah Parsons to Green Bay, 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, 47 mil per year for Parsons. Let's go. And my response was, yeah, they're not going to trade Kenny. And so, and then obviously it happened. My interesting take here, or my reasoning, was not because I didn't think Green Bay would trade Kenny. My reasoning was because I didn't think Dallas was going to have any real major interest in taking on like an older player. I'm like, I can't see that really being the player that they kind of wanted to add on top of that trade, which was kind of my thought process there. But yeah,
I mean, Mozzie bombed out for him. Like, yeah, I guess they're just over the Mozzie experiment.
Yeah,
we have an update on press conferences, by the way.
Oh, we do
at 1 o'clock, LaFleur 1:30, Parsons 2:30.
Ooh, baby. All right, so 1:30, 2:30. Please hold. Well, you can keep talking. I need to get my calendar for tomorrow to see where the heck I'm at for everything.
Sweat.
All right, so 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2:30.
2:30. Yes, sir.
All right. Might need some help with a couple logistical things, but no, not open to the media if it is. I don't know if it's an off day or if it's just not open to the media, but it's nothing. There's no practice open to the media tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday. So Monday will be the very first time, and we start Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is. Probably be Tuesday. And then that we start regular season practices. So it's basically like stretching in one little individual drill, and that's it. Yeah. So we don't get much.
Head counts, baby. Head counts.
Gotta love it. What else you got?
Just Jerry Jones, man. So I'm not picking my nose, by the way. I'm itching the side of it. The way the entire thing went down was Jerry Jones tried to leverage.
I'm gonna let you go.
Oh, the way that this thing went down is Jerry Jones essentially tried to leverage what it means to be the face of the Dallas Cowboys and the popularity that comes with that, and thought that would entice Micah Parsons, and essentially approached his team with the old quotes that we used to hear from guys in the NFL in the 70s and 80s, where it was, hey, if you don't act right, I'm sending you to Siberia, which in their mind is Green Bay. And he way overestimated the how much Parsons was willing to go to Green Bay if they were willing to pay him that money. I think ideally Parsons did want to get that money with Dallas. Like Jerry even said, like, if we wanted to get a deal, we'd get a deal done.
Right.
We would have been able to sign him to that money. I 100% believe that, but they weren't willing to give him that money. And, you know, maybe Green Bay wasn't his first choice, but he certainly wanted the money more than whatever the difference was between being a Packer and being a Cowboy. And I think that that's where the Cowboys really overreached. The whole management to player negotiation thing, like directly, is super weird. Jerry did not back off of that when he was asked about that in a press
So
conference.
weird.
He was basically like, when players ask me for money, I want them to see me wince when they ask for a number that's too high because I want them to feel those emotions. And I'm just like, this is just completely unserious in 2025 when you're negotiating with players. So good luck with Cowboys fans, man. I don't know what you do with that. Good luck. That's all I got for Cowboys fans.
Yeah, the whole thing, like also like there was the report too that I think it was from Mulligetta and whatnot that it was like basically they just told him to play on his contract and they just wanted to show
Yeah, they
up
told
and
him to
like,
play through it.
and then
Play on
Jerry's
the
like,
fifth
yeah,
year.
that's what I wanted. I just wanted him to show up and play on the contract he was on. It's like, holy cow, dude.
It's a power thing, man. It's a power thing. He's been the rich a-hole his whole career, right? And no one's really
Yeah.
tested him. Like he brought up that story of Michael Irvin where he was basically like, yeah, I annoyed Michael Irvin until he signed to a lower number than what he was fighting for. And he only did that because I was talking with him directly. And it's just like, that's just
That's
not
something you should brag about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not. I mean, again, like I've brought this up with like some of the stuff that the Bengals have done in recent years, right? And we've talked about Andy. We talked about this in like February with Trey Hendrickson, and I was like, they're just perpetually in this. We're renegotiating for 1 year,
1 year.
every year, and it's just painful, and it drags out, and it spills into the media. It takes toll on everyone. Like, you really just want to make smart moves and pay guys what their worth is. That's really what it is. That's the easiest way. Because otherwise you're haggling and doing all this stuff. By the way, speaking of that, if Goot gives Elton Jenkins the extension that Elton wanted, are they able to make this move today?
Probably
I don't think
not.
so. I don't think so. Not because of the implication in 2025 in terms of the cap space, but in terms of what the cap sheet looks like in 2026.
I did think of this today. I do wonder if there's any regret of doing the Jair thing where they ate up some of the salary cap space this year. It's going to be fine. They can still get it if they need it. It doesn't really matter all that much, but would certainly give them a little bit more flexibility now if they wanted it.
Yeah, but I don't think that matters until the trade deadline. And they could create cap space
Anytime they
pretty
want.
quickly.
Correct.
Yeah, so they can, pay as you go if they wanted to do it
For
that
sure.
way. Like if Kobe Wooden doesn't end up panning out and they want to make a move for a nose tackle at the deadline, they're gonna be able to create that cap space. So they're not up against the cap yet. 2 years maybe, but not this year.
I have an interesting one for you. I think I know the answer. How much do you know about the whole Christian Wilkins situation? And is he a viable option to be on an NFL team if some team wanted him?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like he's just still banged up, right? I mean, the Raiders wanted him to have another surgery. By the way, he has a Jones fracture, which is the injury that Jaden Reed has currently. Yeah. I've been doing some reading on Jones fracture stuff. Again, I'm not a doctor. It doesn't sound great, fellas.
No,
especially if you return in 3 weeks. Like the re-injury rate is pretty high. So I don't think he's going to play 17, but you might as well use him while you can use him. And Christian Watson's coming off a pup at some point, and Savion's not ready right now. He hasn't been practicing, so maybe he can be like your bridge wide receiver. But I just don't know if the health is going to be there in full this year.
I don't either. Yeah, and then obviously there was like some of the other interesting, weird stuff too. But I don't think it's probably viable. But I'm just looking at different options. I haven't looked at yet, like what other free agents are available. Probably don't need to do anything at the moment. I like one of the things Jeff Affley's been extremely complimentary of this defensive tackle room anytime he has been asked about them. So, all right, Colby Wooden, Carl Brooks, Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, Devontae Wyatt. This always stuns me. Devontae Wyatt played less than 400 snaps last year. Every time I look at it, it stuns me. Less than 400 snaps last year.
He wasn't a starter. Yeah.
No, I know. He's gonna have to be somebody that I think takes on obviously a much bigger role now too.
And they picked up his option and turned down Quays, which is crazy.
And might be smart now because Hopper looks like he might be a viable option. Really smart now because Wyatt's going to really be needed with no Clark, and Hopper might be able to replace Quay with not much issue.
I'm going to take off this mask now. It is very hot. I am sweating.
When I put you on, I had to go open the window and take the sweatshirt off because I got the two big lights on.
All
here
right.
And I'm roasting.
That's going back on. It has not been eaten.
All right, I'm going to get to some super chats really quick here. PJ Wynn says, got to think Jared Goff is nervous, not a throw on the run guy. No interior offense, at least not the same. You know, you've got no Zeitler, no Ragnow, and now you've got Parsons and everyone coming at you. That's going to be a very fun matchup. Did you see the line move to 1.5 points to Green Bay? It was 1 point Packers favorites. It's now 2.5.
It's interesting. Usually even top non-quarterback stars, it moves like 1 point. So,
okay.
And again, I don't think Parsons is going to play a full slate of snaps, but I do think it's really interesting from a matchup standpoint, right? Jared Goff, I mean, what's been the story of Jared Goff his entire career? If you don't get pressure on him, he's going to dice you up. If you pressure him, he's going to get real shaky really quick. So it's almost all matchup based, right? We've seen games where the Packers get after him. He looks like garbage. We've seen games where the Packers are only rushing 3 defensive tackles and an outside linebacker. He looks great, and he's dicing everyone up. So I do think that the Parsons stuff does swing it. I'm just surprised that, Vegas or online gambling sites, I guess, now we don't even have to refer to it as Vegas anymore, has actually taken that into account.
Just right on ESPN now. I don't even have to go far or look it up. It's just right on the ESPN line now. It's very easy to see. This is a fun one. And guys, thank you again so much for the super chats. Xavier says, guys, can you compare and contrast the trade impact of Khalil Mack in 2018 versus Micah in 2025? Who is the better player in their era? I'll try this one first.
Micah's more versatile. I mean, I don't think we have the questions about Mack being able to play Sam linebacker, right? No. I always think of Micah, and this is crazy that I might be dating myself at this point because I feel like it's not that long ago. But the guy who I always compared Micah to was Sean Merriman. Sean Merriman, before his injuries, right, was basically like, he's going to get you like 15 sacks a year.
Yep.
Freak athlete, can do all this type of stuff, super bendy, just relentless motor, high effort, all that stuff. So I don't know. It's pretty close to a push. I think they do some things a little bit differently. Like, again, I just think the versatility that like Parsons can do some other stuff other than just play on the edge, I think helps you a lot. Especially with this defense when you kept Lucas Van Ness, right? And you have all these defensive ends on the team. Like, if you bring up Colin Oliver, are we gonna like get a pick for Enagbare or Brent Cox? Like, someone's got to go in that room, right? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I am maybe they can trade an end for a tackle or something like that too. Maybe that's within the realm of possibility. Some team that's got some extra tackles. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah,
lots of different options. All right, One Love says, I bet Dallas fans feel like when we were kids the day we found out that Santa. I don't know what you're talking about, One Love. I refuse to acknowledge that or
family
believe
program.
That yes, exactly.
It's a family program. You didn't see me spit out a dip. You definitely haven't seen me drink on camera. This is a family program. Santa's real.
You also are allowed to drink on camera. That's totally good. So apparently I said that if Micah Parsons would become a Green Bay Packer, I would do the 1 chip challenge. So apparently
I had heard that. I saw you put up the alternative to get me out of eating a hat. I'm willing to do the 1 chip challenge. I was going to say I'll donate like $200 to charity to like whatever Wisconsin charity people want in the comments. I'll probably be willing to do both of those things. You name the place, I'll eat the chip. I've done the Hot Ones challenge. I did that a year ago with friends. That was brutal on my stomach. I've done ghost pepper stuff that was like in high school, my senior year, I just like deleted an entire spring break because of how bad it ruined my gut. I'll put some poison in my body. It's just it has to have calories. I don't know if hats have calories. I'm not eating the hat. So yeah, I'll do the one chip. How bad can it be? Famously, I said in a group chat with a bunch of sports writers, like, how bad can waterboarding be? It's just what, like, you could just breathe through the thing. They're like, there's no way. You'd be crying within 5 seconds. So I'm always up for overestimating myself and then learning lessons the hard way. So one chip challenge. I'll have to figure out where to get this chip, but willing to do it. Don't care.
All right. TBD on when that happens. Has Green Bay ever scooped up a holdout like this? A holdout. Terry Glenn a holdout? Not like that. This is obviously not the same thing. Terry Glenn might have been a holdout when he was traded. I think he was. I think he was, but obviously that's not to the level of what this is. This is definitely the biggest of anything in that category. But I think Terry Glenn might have been a holdout in New England, if I remember. But don't quote me on that. He was like a holdout every year, I swear to God. Sorry if it was covered. What does Wyatt need to do to step up and be a star? Alternatively, what are the targets to help the run defense? Thank you. Thanks for the super chat. I don't know. You want to take either of these, Justis?
I think the targets to help the run, they're going to roll with the guys that they got. They got 3 guys who can feasibly play nose tackle at the NFL level, right? I mean, you kept the 2 Georgia boys. It's time to use them. Like, Nasir Stackhouse is probably going to be active now, right? You'd think. So I think Nasir is probably only going to come in for obvious run stopping downs, but he'll probably get action. Brinson, I think he'll be the true nose tackle too on like normal downs when Kobe Wooden is out, but I think Kobe Wooden's going to be the starter. So I don't think that they're going to make a move. I mean, they're out a pick this year, 2 picks next year. They're going to get some back in 2027 because of comp picks and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that they're going to make a move unless there's an injury or something. So
if there was like an incremental like gain somewhere that they could do, maybe they would think of something. But I think for now, they're going to let those 5 guys go and see what they can do. I also think that this is a very good run defense by committee. I thought they were so much better in totality last year. It wasn't just Kenny Clark or TJ Slayton in the inside. I thought the linebackers were better. I thought the edge rushers were better. I thought the safeties dropping down in the box, the slot corners were better. I just thought they did a better job run defending. It's really a team effort. And yes, you'd like some beef in the middle too that can hold up at the point of attack. But I thought overall the team run defense was better. They can do some of that stuff again. I think you can mitigate it. Hopefully still getting some of those 3rd and longs and then be so much better in those situations because of obviously the pressure stuff that you can do.
The other thing I want to point out, do you guys remember how fast the defensive tackle market moved this past year?
Insane.
There's not a ton of talent there. In free agency, there was basically nothing, right? And you saw guys like who's the guy who went to the Panthers? Got a huge contract, or maybe New England. It
was Milton Williams went to New England.
Milton was the guy who they rumored
Panthers
to Carolina. Then he went up to New England, and then I think the Panthers paid like Tershawn Wharton like 15 a year or something crazy like that, which is
why even Slayton got like $8 million per year, right? Like Slayton was something like $8 million per year. He didn't get nothing either. Yeah. So
and then the defensive tackle market in the draft, everyone went higher than expected. Everyone went high. Like by the time the Packers were on the board in the 2nd round, there wasn't a value pick, and the same thing is true in the 3rd round, right? So yeah, if you were looking for nose tackles, slim pickings this offseason. So I can't imagine teams are going to be willing to come off of those until probably the trade deadline once they accept that they've been eliminated from playoff contention.
Slim pickings, except for Pickens, the guy the Bears just released. That's one guy that's out there. He went to the practice squad. Was it Zachary Pickens or something like that? I don't know if I can remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he just got released by Chicago. He got picked up by somebody on the practice squad, but yeah, he's not had a good career in Chicago. So that's not exactly something I'm recommending. As far as Wyatt goes, I just need to see him be consistent. Like he has shown that he can rush the passer, but he disappears for stretches. He's not a great run defender. He's going to need to play. Like, I just want to see I'd like to see 700 to 800 really good snaps out of him this year, and not just 400 snaps in like a part-time role where every once in a while he looks good as a pass rusher. So to me, I just need to see him be a little bit more consistent overall.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the flashes are definitely there. Look at PFF, SIS, any the NFL Pro stuff, like any charting company. Look at their pass rush win ratings, and Devontae Wyatt is near the top of the league. That is not the issue. It's not even being consistent because I feel like he is consistent as a pass rusher. It's
That's
just
fair.
he's not on the field all the time. But part of the reason he's not on the field all the time is because he's not consistent as a run defender. I mean, that's the big key for him, right? It's getting good enough as a run defender where they don't want to take you off the field. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just hoping that he has a big season one way or the other, because if he can, that's going to certainly help mitigate some of the loss of Kenny Clark for sure. I'm calling it now, Super Bowl parade in Green Bay. Sign me up, and thank you so much for being a member for 16 months. Craig said, when you are a billionaire and everyone does whatever you want, this is what happens. Someone who doesn't, you can't handle. This is why the Packers organization structure is really ideal for the NFL. I just want to go back to this thing for a second with Jerry Jones. All right. Which one is it? Because he said that within the organization, the coaching staff, the front office, and the ownership group, it was unanimous that they wanted to make this deal and move on from Micah Parsons and get all this stuff in return. Is it he's lying? Or is it that they have no real agreement with him whatsoever, but they're going to be, yeah, absolutely, Jerry, we think it's a great idea?
I mean, Doug, there's so many different opinions in
Any NFL room.
rooms.
Any,
Yeah, like
on any
there
topic.
yeah. So like, I mean, was there a consensus among there were Packers fans who were like, this is too much.
For sure,
Right?
yeah.
And we're like, think about 2027 and 2028 and stuff like that for this move. So like, I mean, maybe they didn't voice their opinion, right? Because they knew burn bridge, all that stuff.
Yep.
Between him and ownership. But internally, like, you give them truth serum. Did they have a differing opinion? Yeah, dude. Like, there's teams that trade 3 first-round picks to move up for a quarterback in a draft, and an area scout is like, we shouldn't do that. That happens all the time. That's what you pay these scouts for, is their opinions.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah, I think it's very childish too. He's treating people as if they don't have brain cells.
Yeah, I don't know what's more crazy, that comment or the comment that he thought the team was better this year by making this deal. Like, if you wanted to make the argument of like, hey, in the long run, we think what we can get in return, I'll listen to that argument. That's fine. I can understand where maybe your thought process is to make the argument that you're better here in 2025 by simply swapping Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark. That's a bit of a stretch and a bit of trying to really get us to buy into something that there's no way we're going to buy into. One Love, thank you for the super chat. Pokey says McKinney will eat with Cooper and Parsons now. Very excited to have all of those three on the same defense. And he also wants to know what's in the bottle. And he said, up the irons, I guess. Very special Hennessy. Hey, love it. All right.
I'm a Hennessy and tequila guy. I know a lot of guys are whiskey guys in Packers world, but I'm Hennessy tequila. Brandy. Honestly, mostly beer, but
all right, let's see. I guess, is there anything else? I know I've been talking for almost 4 hours now, so I've probably covered just about everything. Was there anything else that stood out to you about this, either from how it happened or like what this means moving forward?
I think one interesting way to think about it, right? We've talked about contract projections, things of those natures, right? Romeo Dobbs probably asking for 13, Quay asking for 15, Rashid asking for 20. You add all those up, that's 48 million. So you make the decision, right? And you're like, yep, I'd rather give Micah the money and we'll figure it out with the rest of them, right? Which it hopes that Morgan had the summer that he had. It helps that Matthew Golden had the summer that he had. It helps that Tyron Hopper had the summer that he had.
Big time.
Right? So I don't think like this, because there will be roster decay, right? It's just talent decay. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Who knows how long the window is open? That's up to the discretion of the Green Bay Packers and how much money they want to take from the future to pay to keep this window open, right? Doesn't matter in 2025, but that decay is going to come down the line. I don't think it's going to happen in 2026. So, at minimum, you have a 2-year window. You can keep it open longer than that if you want to keep borrowing from the future. But keep in mind, some of these guys are probably going to be in their last year with Green Bay, and they're probably going to warrant Green Bay compensatory picks once they hit the open market.
Yep. And hopefully those comp picks can turn into something and to help with that decay. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but if there's any team that's set up to continue to get good players, Goody's done such a great job round 2nd through 7 to continue.
Well, we
to
can
find
skip round 3, right? Or do we skip round 3 anymore? I can't keep track.
Tucker Kraft, Sean Ryan, Tyron Hopper now, maybe Marshawn Lloyd if he can actually stay healthy. Savion Williams still an interesting lottery ticket. I'm not skipping round 3 anymore. Tucker Kraft and Sean Ryan probably good enough in and of itself.
Yeah,
but they know how to find good players, and they found them on practice squads. They can turn wide receivers into cornerbacks at a moment's notice. Like this is, I think, the 1A team, and just finding stuff around Chris Brooks, just like finding a Chris Brooks and be like, yep, you're a good running back now. Like they can do that.
So I think one of the more impressive things about the Green Bay Packers that maybe gets overlooked a little bit, when Milt Hendrickson came in from Baltimore and kind of revamped their pro personnel department, right? That's when you start seeing these practice squad poaches and these guys claimed off of waivers and stuff like that, where they're able to get these really cheap multi-year guys in who are young, right? The Packers this year, I think, have something like, it's like 8 or 9 restricted free agents, like 4 more exclusive rights free agents. They've kind of changed the way that they've done it, and they're more in that market where they're like, it doesn't have to be like I think Ted Thompson would have like just kept Kalen King. I think Ted Thompson would have, like Ted Thompson would have just kept these draft picks forever, right?
Yep.
Whereas Goot is more, or I guess I should say the Packers front office, because I don't think Goot is able to watch every single snap of every single team in the preseason, all that stuff, right? Jam it in before waiver wires. The Packers pro personnel department, I think, is advanced to the point where they feel comfortable that, you know, if we're going to be down draft picks and we're not going to have a whole lot of cap space to spend on free agents, and we're not going to want to use it because that cap, if we spend money on outside free agents, that's going to offset compensatory picks that we're going to get for guys like Rasheed Walker leaving, Quay Walker, Romeo Dobbs, you name it, right? All these guys. They're comfortable saying, like, we feel like we can get basically what amounts to an extra draft pick through the waiver wire, or through practice squad call-ups, or through insert whatever. And they're also not treating the entire bottom end of the roster as redshirts, right? They're like, look, someone's got to play teams, and we want to be good there. And the Packers last year they were second in starting average field position, and they were 5th in opponent starting average field position. They're really good on special teams. I know people want to bust Bisaccia's balls all the time. The problem is he doesn't have a returner, and he didn't have a kicker. He's got a kicker now. I don't think we have a punt returner still. We have a kick returner. We don't have a punt returner. But they got a kick to Keyshawn now, because if they go for a touchback, it's 35-yard line. I've seen Daniel Whalen hit it from 50. So we're one
McManus.
set of my bad, McManus. We're one set of first downs away from field goal range if you don't let Keyshawn return it. So I'm cool with living in that world and saying, hey, if you want to be on this 53, you contribute to the roster. That's how it goes now. There's not going to be these red shirts, and we're going to be way more active on the waiver wire, way more active with practice squad call-ups, all that stuff. I'm cool with that.
I think it was one of the better decisions that they made, because if you look back, right, there was for a period of time a ton of players they redshirted. I'm going to miss a bunch of them, but Raven Green, Alex Light, Tim Boyle, God, there was another safety too that they had for like a year, and then he like got injured for a year, didn't play, and then like they still kept redshirting him. Like there's so many of these guys. You know, the one that like sort of kind of turned out, Yash Nyman. Yosh Nijman was the one of all of their guys that they've been redshirting for years. And like, we're going to hang on to these guys. We're going to develop them. They're going to come into something. For all of that, for all that time, effort, and energy, they got a swing tackle for a couple years. It's just not worth it. Like, you know what? If they would have let all of those guys go, they would have let I love my Tim Boyle, I get it, but like Tim Boyle, Alex Light, all of those guys, if they all of their developmental, Raven Green, etc., Lindsey Pipkins, we can go on and on. Vernon Scott was the guy I was thinking of. Vernon frickin' Scott. If they let all of those guys go and don't develop a single one of them, they lose a couple seasons of Yosh Nijman as a swing tackle. Meanwhile, in the 2021 game against San Francisco, they could have actually stocked a real, legitimate, true handful of special teams players, at least 3 of them. Instead, that actually maybe could have made an impact on that play and in that game to help them actually win it. So I think it hasn't necessarily paid massive dividends yet, but that change in philosophy, I think, is going to be really, really important for them as they move forward.
Yeah, and they were 32nd in special teams with a bullet. Like, they were 32nd, and the difference between them and 31 was like the difference between 31 and like 10, right? Like, they were way down. So, yeah, I'd rather be better on teams than wish cast on draft picks going into year 4, you know?
Yeah. And we've seen it too. Like, they're basically now, they will put a couple of these guys, like Kadeem Telford, for example, right? They put him on the practice squad the first year. They put him on the active roster last year. Also, they just didn't have that much depth along the offensive line. So they give him that chance in year 2. It's definitely reached the point now where if there even are any of those guys, by year 3, if you ain't got it, see you later. You're done. We're
not even practice squad, which is crazy to me. Like, some of those wide receivers too, like Julian Hicks was the next guy to get worked in. He was ahead of any of the practice squad guys that ended up getting signed. Like,
year 3,
was it Cornelius Johnson was his name, right? Like, they were trying to get him worked on teams a little bit, but it's like, yeah, man, if you're not making the roster year 3, peace. Like,
it's all over.
Go find work somewhere else.
Pokey said, Andy and Justis, thanks for all that you guys do. To say you're appreciated is an understatement. What a great day for Packers fans. Go Pack Go. Appreciate that, Pokey. I will never give up dreaming after this trade. Me neither, one love. Keep dreaming, my friend. Shout out to my producer, Tommy, on the Pack-A-Day radio show as well, who kept saying today, he's like, I'm choosing to believe. He's like, I just over and over. He's like, he's like, I'll be disappointed later if I need to be disappointed later. Just over and over. I'm believing it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm like, all right, dude, best of luck. And he was right. It happened. So keep dreaming, keep believing out there. One love. Hopper Morgan Golden 100% enabled this trade. I think it definitely helped. Again, when you have young players.
Yeah, they helped.
It helped big time.
Just, I mean, Wooden too. I mean, Wooden's another guy that we're not talking about in the
equation. Like, I think too. Yeah.
If Wooden doesn't break out and is able to take these starting reps when Kenny Clark is out in practice this summer, do we make this trade? Do we move off of Kenny Clark? I don't know. I can't tell you that. So,
yep.
Yeah. I mean, I would throw his name in the mix too.
I went through earlier. Now we can do it again if we want. We probably don't need to, but I went through and I built the roster next year. If they don't sign a single one of their free agents back, if they don't sign a single free agent, if they don't draft a single player, like, you still have a good line. The one that's interesting is offensive line. If you have to release Elton Jenkins. Yeah. So if you don't sign back Sean Ryan, if you have to release Elton Jenkins, and if you don't sign back Rasheed Walker, and even then you're like Banks, Belton, Tom, and who am I missing? Banks,
Monk,
Belton,
maybe
Tom. There's Morgan. But yeah. So you got probably Morgan left tackle, and then probably Banks left guard. You don't have a center, and then you're probably looking at maybe Belton right guard, Tom right tackle, and then you need a center. And so that would be the one that I would say is like a little bit more, and you have no depth. I mean, you've got maybe Monk at center and then just no depth after it. So that's the one I think that is a lot more precarious. Even Kennard's a restricted free agent. You're not even sure if you're going to want.
You're not going to give him the $3.5 million or whatever. I mean, maybe he comes back after hitting the market, but he's not getting the tag.
So the outside of that, you kind of look at it, and I feel pretty good about where everything else is at from a roster standpoint of like putting together a good team still. But there's definitely, like you said, going to be some attrition down the road. All right. And then B-Sums says it's a shame Parsons would have solved all of our cornerback problems in Joe Barry's system. Still could. You never know. But no, they're going to have a lot of versatile pieces. That is one thing I hope we don't see a ton of. All right, Justis. We're at 4 hours. Anything else you want to get off your chest? We're at midnight. Started at 8. We're at midnight in my time, 10-year time.
This shirt, it's soaked through, man. It is.
That was a good 4 hours of Micah Parsons talk. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. All right, what is your like? Normally, I would after a live show, I would still do like an episode for tomorrow morning. I just did 4 hours of talk on Micah Parsons. I don't have anything left to say. I've kind of said it all. I don't know what to do now. Maybe I'll break down Josh Wiley.
Post the full 4 hours on the iTunes app.
I'm going to definitely do it on Apple. I'm going to say 4 hours of Micah Parsons talk. Enjoy, something like that. That's absolutely going up on the audio for tomorrow. I don't know if I need, maybe I'll just do another live tomorrow for a video. That's probably what I'll do. Well, I have happy hour too. Yeah, I'll probably just do that. That's what I'm going to do. All right. I got nothing else. I have nothing left to give you amazing, incredible people. 1,700 people still in chat. Thank you to the 149 of you with the super chats, memberships, etc. Thank you to the thousands and thousands and thousands of you that like commented all throughout today's chat. Quickest 4 hours of my life. I did 4 hours drive down to Chicago, 4 hours drive back to Chicago. Now 4 hours of live chat back to back to back. I guess I had a half hour less. I left at 12:30 p.m. and now it's 12 o'clock a.m. And that is all I've done for the last 3 hours besides pick up some Pop-Tarts and get some gas.
You got to sell you were able to sell the tickets, right?
No. Oh, because it was like literally like 2 hours before the concert started. And we had 4 people.
Yeah, I mean, you're driving, right? So
yeah, I was driving. Thankfully, I was driving by myself. If I was driving everyone down, I would have been screwed. Thankfully, they drove separate because they were going to go down earlier because I didn't know what time I was going to be able to get out. And so I drove separate.
Why don't you get a hotel?
What's that?
Why don't you just get a hotel? Just record it from there, I guess.
So here's the thing. Before I left today, like earlier this morning, I'm like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring my laptop, my camera and my microphone just in case something like this breaks. And I had so much stuff to get done before I got out of here today that I got it. I was trying to leave by like 11 was my hope today, to leave at 11. And it was like 12:30. And I finally got my last thing done at 12:30. And I like booked it out the door because I wanted to get down there as quickly as I could and also try to beat like rush hour Chicago traffic. And I totally forgot the laptop and everything. So I could have like stopped somewhere and done it on my phone, but it would have just been like terrible. Plus, like now, if I do want to record an episode tomorrow morning or something, like it just didn't make sense. So I had other people, like I've got friends in Milwaukee and West Bend. Like I could have potentially stopped there, but it was just, I don't know. I just raced home as quickly as I could and got it done. Not ideal, but it happens. It's all good. Thank you, Tough eSocks. Smash that like button and hit subscribe. We've got 1,600 people in here. Hit that subscribe button. I know most of you are probably subscribers already, but even if 200 of you aren't, that's 200 more subscribers. That would be amazing. Justis, I know you said you have a podcast out. I'm sure you've written a variety of different articles about it already. Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, no, I went on Frozen Tundra Frequencies. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts, right? You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. It's a lot of the APC writers. I'm a special guest on it. I'm not a host. Just like I'm not a host on this show. That is for plausible deniability for Fox if they ever come after me. Much like David Mulugheta had plausible deniability on how much the Packers were willing to pay Micah Parsons while he was on the trade block.
For sure.
Yeah, and then catch my writing at APC. I had just general thoughts about the trade after the trade. I got to sit with it for a little bit. It's not super coherent, but it's got, it's broken down into blocks with, headers over it. Couldn't thread it all together. My head was still spinning. I'm certain there's going to be more fallout of this that we're going to look at. I'll probably tomorrow morning, so Friday, I'll have kind of like an outline of like what Jerry Jones said that you guys can go read up on that if you don't want to sit through his long-winded stories over 48 minutes. I'm not joking. We timed it. He got asked one question. He talked for 11 minutes straight. It was nuts. I was like, yeah, I had to sit back and I was like, this isn't like an opening statement, right? Like someone asked a question.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy.
He just turned it into an opening statement, basically. I don't know, were you watching it on NFL Network or where were you watching it?
I was watching it on YouTube. So
okay.
I just popped it up on YouTube because I was I was babysitting. I was like, Addie, you gotta take care of the kid for a little bit. I don't know what to tell you. I
Jerry
gotta
Jones
watch
put the
this.
kid to sleep anyway. But no, NFL Network had it, and like 30 minutes in, like Pelissero just came on and he's like, "We're cutting this off now because knowing Jerry Jones, he might talk for another 7 hours." So he's like, we literally came back and he like cut it off, and then they kind of broke down what he had said already. But he was going for probably 30, 40 minutes, and they're like, "All right, that's probably enough." And they literally just kind of cut it.
I'm guessing Matt, Goot, Micah put together is going to be less runtime than Jerry Jones's presser.
Yeah, I bet it's right around even would be my guess, right around even. But it's probably right. That's a good over under. I like that a lot. It's probably very much in the very similar vicinity. All right. Pokey said, by the way, Andy, irons means raise your glass. I did not know that. Thank you, Pokey. I'm now more educated. Sullivan became a new member. Thank you, Sullivan. And Aiden Yang said, does this affect our cap to sign the 2023 draft class?
Yeah.
Everything's going to affect the cap. I mean, it's all going to be there. They're just going to have to be intentional with what they do from here on out. They're just going to have to decide, like, if they want to bring somebody back, like next year, if they wanted to bring back Sean Ryan, like they can find a way to bring back Sean.
If Christian balls out, if Quay balls out, they'll figure out a way and they'll just kick the money forward.
Yep.
But I don't think they want to re-sign guys just to re-sign guys.
Nope.
So that's the best way to put it. And they want to re-sign guys to long-term deals, which again, that's going to be an issue with Romeo and his health situation. By the way, people got on my ass and said someone was in my mentions talking about I wrote Romeo Dobbs clickbait. One, I didn't write it. Two, if I didn't write it, how could it be clickbait? I was talking with you guys. I'm willing to say it now. The Jacksonville Jaguars called about Romeo Dobbs. They offered a 6th-round pick. Packers said no. Romeo Dobbs was involved in trade talks ever since the DK Metcalf stuff started. That the national media told you never happened until the moment that it happened. Are we seeing a thread through these stories? Don't trust anyone if they say that someone isn't available via trade. Why the hell would teams ever admit that someone is on the trade block? You got it from the horse's mouth in Jerry Jones today. I think Romeo could be a guy that they could use to get more draft picks if they can find someone willing to give them more than probably the 5th that he'll get as a compensatory free agent. I don't think that they're in a position to do that right now. Not until Christian comes back. Yeah, I mean, with the Reed injury too. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a real play it by ear type of situation once we get down to with the trade deadline with Romeo. I don't know if that's something that gets done, but certainly NFL teams are looking at Romeo and are like, that's interesting. You guys aren't paying him. You guys clearly don't like him that much, because if you would have, then you would have extended him by this point, which is probably true. So,
yep. I do have one bone to pick. I beat you by like 25 minutes on your Kenny Clark was the last Ted Thompson draft pick tweet.
Oh, did you?
I'd be like 20 minutes. It was like my first tweet of the entire thing. And yours went viral, damn it, and mine did not. So I'm very bitter. I know you didn't steal it. I'm totally messing with you.
Well, I did steal it, but I stole it from John Meerdink in the ABC Slack. So maybe he stole it from you, and I stole it from him.
That's how it is. But yes, it was like my very first tweet of like, oh, it's kind of like beautiful that Ted's last draft or like last remaining draft pick helped us get, obviously helped us get Micah Parsons. And then I see everyone retweeting yours and I'm like, son of a Justis. Like, but no, I forgive you. You'll just have to do the one chip challenge for me. You don't have to do the hat. You'll do the one chip challenge for me and I'll forgive you in entirety.
Yeah, I got to do something. I'm not in the hat. So
I feel like you got a reprieve. You're down before the opening week, before the first game, you're down to 5 defensive tackles. Now, if they sign somebody tomorrow and they're up to 6, then maybe it's a little different story. But I feel like you got a get out of jail free card.
I think I got oh man, here, let me look at the Packers roster right now. Because I think I got the roster numbers by position right.
Okay.
The problem is they just like, I obviously got, oh no. Because I got the wrong corners. I got 6 of them instead of 5. I had the 5 linebackers.
Okay.
I had the 5 safeties. You
You had
The
Mosby?
offensive. No, but I had Terrell. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. So I had an extra at the end, and I was down a defensive. Well, the defensive tackles are fine now. So
Down
what
a
the hell
corner.
am I getting?
Down a corner.
Down a corner. Yes. So
Down a
that was
corner,
that.
up a defensive end.
Down a
No,
corner, up a defensive. No,
no, you're up
I'm
2.
down
You're
2.
up. It's
I think
screwy
I
there.
used 1 as just like general like waiver edition is the problem.
Okay.
But I still don't know where the other number is coming from. So
Well,
yeah.
where do you have Micah now? Maybe defensive end is now because we have Micah too. No, so Micah's even because Micah would be even at defensive end then because we have 6 defensive ends at the moment, right?
Yes. So okay, that's what it was. It was just I had a corner down, and then I had just 1 general like waiver edition.
That's what it was. You were correct. Yep.
So that's how it was.
Okay.
But I mean, if you guys care about the cut down thing, like it's Neiman for Welsh. I got the corner 5 and 6 wrong. They went with outside corners. I thought that they were going to go with the slots.
I told you hadn't.
I know you were right. You got
everything else wrong, but I told you hadn't.
Yep. So yeah,
right.
I think we're sitting pretty. This makes a lot of sense.
I like the roster. They're clearly going to win the Super Bowl. Nothing could possibly go wrong from here on out, and I'm going to choose to believe that. And that's how we're going to end today's show. Justis, I cannot thank you enough. Follow him on social media at JUMOSQ. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL. Thank you for being patient with me while I rushed aggressively back. Definitely obeyed all speed laws and driving laws the entire time I was driving back. I will see you guys soon. A happy hour tomorrow. I might have to change that time too because I can't go at noon because Goody's speaking at 1, right? Is that what you said?
1, 1:30, and 2:30, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to do happy hour at noon, but we'll figure out something tomorrow. I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.